Okay, so I'm going to be making a attraction gel pen. So I'm using cherry wood for this pen. So what I'm going to do is mark where I need it to be cut and the piece that I need for the pen. And the thing about this pen is that it's smaller than most of the other pens that I make. And the line doesn't really matter when you mark it as long as you cut it straight. And for this pen I'm going to be using a 3/8 drill bit to drill a hole. So this little thing that I have in my hand is a little Allen wrench, and that's the cutter head for the reamer. And that part that I just put inside is a 3/8 reamer. It's the same exact size as the drill bit, so that when I clean the pen after I make the hole and glue the brass tubing on the inside, it cleans it and prevents it from having a hard time and looking messy on the outsides and on the inside. So it cleans it, makes it smooth, and yeah, it's practically the same thing as the one on the back, but that smaller one is for slimline pens. And now I'm going to be using a 3/8 bit and marking it. I'm mark a cross in it so where I know where the center is at. So then I'll start and I'll go and then I'll do it. Sometimes it takes, sometimes other times it doesn't, and yeah. Okay, so these drill bits are like really sharp, so they leave really clean holes, as you can see. And after I'm done drilling the holes, I usually clean the drill bit with my little toothbrush that I have there, because if you rub your fingers on it you can cut yourself because you're like super sharp. So now it is time to put in the reamer for this. I usually do it before I glue it or anything, so that I don't have to be like wasting time and all that fun stuff. So all you do is put it in the same way and use that to tighten it. If you don't tighten it, it can slip out and it can mess up the reamer, or you can mess up the pen blank. Okay, so now I'm gonna sand the tube for this pen, and it's only one tube for this one. So like each pen has like different amount of tubes and like different styles and all that stuff, and different like thicknesses and like the lengths of the little copper or brass tube, I mean. And here's the fun part, gluing it. So what I do is I spin it around a little bit so I get the glue evenly spread around the little brass tube. When you do this, you want to go like not too slow or not too fast. You have to like perfectly time it, because if you go too slow you can like get it stuck, and then it's just like really. And then other times you'll get the glue on your fingers and you can get stuck to the pen blank. I did that before and it hurt a lot. So now I'm gonna use the pen reamer to clean up both sides of the pen, like all the excess glue that was left on the outside, or excess wood that is left on the tops of the pen blank. So you see how the reamer just came out? It's because it wasn't sitting right, and that's another reason why you have to make sure it's tightened. When that happened, I was just like, so yeah, you have to be careful with what you do. Make sure everything's set on there right and properly tightened before you actually start going. So that was a mistake I made. So you just got to be careful with what you're doing and how you're doing it. Sometimes when you do this, you have to be careful, because you can split the wood, or you can like break it or chip it if it's acrylic. So this one's wood, it's real soft, That's what I like about doing like wood pens, but I was having a little bit of trouble. I think it was the blank was a little too low, so then I had to pick the blank up, I think. I'm not too sure, but yeah, it took quite a while. And then sometimes you can't see the brass tube, so that like you have it flush with the brass tube, because if it's not flush, then the parts are like the pieces that go with the pen, so like the hardware, I mean, won't like properly sit right, and they can fall out after you made it, or it can just like from nowhere just like fall apart. So you have to make sure everything's flush and properly set up right. Okay, so this is the part that I was talking about, how it's flush with the wood and the brass tube, how it's all leveled out. So now I'm using attraction pen bushings. For this one, it only has 2 bushings because it's just that small piece. And then I had to use 6 spacers. I don't even know. I used a whole bunch of spacers because it's a bit smaller, so there's my little extra one. And I put it together, and yep, let's get going and put it on the lathe. When you do that part, when you tighten it, you want to go real like slowly. You don't want to like pry the thing into the back of that tube or into the mandrel, because if you do that, you'll like mess the mandrel up and you'll warp it, and if it's warped, then it will mess up all the other pens that you do. So here's a time lapse of me shaping it. And the tool that I'm using is a carbide tool. It is a Recon. That's the name of like the set or whatever that I'm using. And then now I'm sanding it. When you sand it, you don't want to press too hard sometimes, because then it like messes it up and it affects it. So here's me putting oil onto the wood in slow motion. I just want to add that because like, you know, like slow motion is low-key kind of satisfying. So yeah, there's a little something. One of my favorite things about adding the oil onto it is that it like makes the color of the wood pop, and like the grain also. It looks so beautiful. Like it's just like, oh, it's just like, you know, like that mind-blowing stuff. Like, yeah, couldn't hit that high note. I was like, oh, I ran out of. Okay, here's a slow-mo of applying the wax that I used to give it that like bougie slash sleek shine that it gets. It's like that finishing gloss. It's like a clear coat, so it like protects the wood, and it looks pretty cool after it's cleaned up and everything. So after I made the pen, I was looking at it and I was like, it doesn't look too like shiny or like as much as it's supposed to be. So I went back and like took the whole pen apart and I put it back on my lathe and I redid the wood. So I literally had to resand it and redo all the steps that I just did. And then afterwards, it gave it that glossy look, so it looked even better than it does now, or then in the video. I'll show it how it looks towards the end or at the end of the video. Okay, so now I'm going over it with the Dremel, and when I do this, I'll do 2 coats. So I'll do one while it's spinning, and then I'll do another one while it's just there. So finally finished it, and that's how it looks. It's real like a bright red color. I like the way it came out. Okay, so here's the pen blank. Those are the pieces, so like the hardware. I'm using a chrome color for this one. So usually before I actually start making the pen, I'll set it up the same way I am, but before like the blank is turned and everything, so I know how everything goes. So like when I make a new style of pens or something, I'll put it to the way that I need it to be, and then I'll start doing it. So first thing I'll do is remove the bushings from the pen blank, as you saw that I did. So now you put those little caps on the end, and when you put any type of pieces into the wood blank, you want them to go all the way down. Like you want them to be flush with the wood. That's why you use the pen reamer, so that it cleans up all that excess and they stay flush. So when you do this one, it goes in real easy and clean. So yeah, and then here is how it looks afterward once those are pushed in. And those have threading on the inside of them, so I just twist that back piece onto it, and now I'm gonna twist the front piece onto it. So that's how it looks. The pen's kind of small, but at the same time it makes up in size. So there's two back pieces. There's one that has an opening, like one that's like fully open, and then the other one that's like the actual like the back piece. So that one is like you have to push it in as well too. So it wasn't working because I decided to put the pen cartridge in. Oh, I felt dumb right there. But afterward, I took it out and then I redid it again. I was like, really? So I did it again, and then it sat right, or it properly went in this time. Or I did it a few times, and I was like, oh, I think I should take it out, you know? So then I did it again. So I was just like, I don't know, I was lost right there at the moment. I was like, bro, I was like thinking so hard, like, how does this go again? So I was like, oh yeah, and it clicked in my head, and I was just like, okay. So then I put the pen back together, and I finally finished it. So there's only one piece of wood because it's just that piece, and the top has like the cap and all that other stuff. Also, that little brass tube, I don't know if you can see it, there's like a little lip on there, but that one, if it goes in backwards, you have to take it apart and redo the whole thing, because if not, it will not enter. Like I did this last time. I made another one before this. That was an orange acrylic one, and I messed it up. I had to like disassemble the whole like cap because I couldn't even get it on there properly, so I had to like find a way to disassemble that little piece that I put together. So then I learned from my mistake, and I was like, really? And the cool thing about this pen is it's magnetic, so when you close it and open it, it locks onto itself. So you can shake it around and it won't come off or anything. And then yeah. Also the shape, so say if you like it the other way, so you can swap the pieces, you can do it vice versa, whichever way feels more comfortable to you. So say you like it one way, and then you're like, oh, I like it this way, so you could just unscrew both pieces and then just switch them around. And okay, so this is how it came out after I redid it, because I had to redo this part because I didn't like the way it came out. It didn't have that glossy look to it. Like it didn't have that, how you can see that like reflection thing on it. But now it looks better than it did before. But yeah.